Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFYL, Inspirations for Your Life. It's so great to have you here tonight. It is Thursday, January 12th, 2023. Thanks so much for popping in and catching up with all the great information that I want to share with you. We'll get to our master topic in just a second. But every single week, we start out with a brand new master topic on Saturday, and we roll all the way through the week, and we finish up on Friday, which is tomorrow. And each day we have a little more particulars that we get into for the master topic. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank all of your friends, colleagues, and wonderful associates for being here. Really appreciate you very, very much. And I want to thank all the people that are watching us on the replay, whether that's 1 o'clock in the morning, 6 a.m., 2 p.m., 11 a.m., whatever time it is. Really do appreciate that. And again, if you're new, just grab your smartphone for me and launch the camera app and point over the QR code. Touch the yellow ellipse, and you will see that you're going to be greeted by my link tree with lots of great information to improve the quality of your life. I know that you're probably wondering, what does it mean sometimes when we talk about the topic we're going to talk about today, which is how to understand auditory learning. I will tell you that it can be crazy. But think for a minute. Think about what auditory means to you. Auditory learning is a very unique style of learning in by sounds are the main gate to your brain. They're the main gate to your brain. So if they're the main gate, it's like a direct line, right? And so when we think about auditory, okay, a lot of people that I talk to say, "Hey, John, auditory is great, but I sometimes think that, you can't learn auditorily." And I have to tell you that I disagree. You can learn auditorily. Oh, how? Well, so your brain has different perceptions, right? Different types of perceptions. Think about that. I think that auditory can be crazy. I think some people don't understand that auditorily you have a gift. And some people don't develop their auditory gift. Why? Well, they think it's how can I say? They think it's overrated and that it really can't do anything. That's what they think about. Hello there. Uh, Plurus, I believe that's your name. Thanks for popping in. Really appreciate you joining us today from our Twitch platform. So, we're talking all about auditory learners tonight and how a lot of people think auditory learners are looking for a shortcut. Well, they're not. They actually have a gift in the way they can see and hear the world. That gift will give you a connection that you didn't even know exist. A connection that's going to make you so interesting that you'll wonder how you got along without it. Because, see, people are born auditory learners, but they don't master auditory learning sometimes until a few years. So when people say to me, "Hey, John, if I'm born in auditory learning, am I an expert?" No, you're not. So people are not born experts. People are not born entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs. They have a desire and then they follow that passion. They follow that passion. All right. And that passion, ladies and gentlemen, makes a huge difference into how your life is going to be. That difference happens for one reason, and that's because of belief. It's because of belief. Now, next week on the show, we're going to be talking a lot more about belief. We've talked about it a little before, but we're going to be talking about really what we want to call the magic of belief. And that sounds kind of corny, but it's actually the truth. You see, people don't become something because a wand got waved. Nope. That's a great question. So yes, the goal here to start auditory learning more schools. So a lot of schools, what's happening is that they are trying to become not just auditory, and we're going to talk this other, this auditory, this visual, kinesthetic. A lot of schools by default have not been auditory. They go write something on the board and everybody says, copy it down, and they might talk for a little bit or they might say read, but that doesn't stimulate a child that is, or a student that is connected to learning auditorily. Now, usually we have two primary systems. Two primary systems. And the primary systems could be auditory and something else. So you have auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, but we're talking about auditory today because if we understand that somebody gets a goal because they're being auditory, then we've really come across a major milestone. See, a lot of schools think that if they teach you auditorily, that they're giving you a shortcut. They're not. So what happens in school if you have a teacher or professor or doctor that decides they're going to write everything on the board? And then you've got to basically write it into your notebook. And they don't talk about what's on the board. They give a generality, but they don't mention the concept. Like, well, if you look at the concept on the board, and they don't ever go into it or explain it in deep. So what I tell people to do is to get is to basically get a connection with what you know now. So if you know right now that auditory works for you, but you can't do it in social studies, or you can't do it in, I don't know, chemistry, or you can't do it in physics, or you can't do it in science, because a lot of times there's definitions, right? So how do you overcome that? So here's what I recommend. Even the person that's writing on the board, you take the notes down, okay? And then what you do is when you get home, you have a tape recorder, your phone, and you speak into it, and you record the notes, little short entries, and then you play the notes back. And that will help you to remember, because remember, you're an auditory learner. You're an auditory learner. And if you are an auditory learner, schools are starting to realize that this is not a gimmick. It's not a gimmick, but a lot of people don't understand that it isn't a gimmick. They don't understand that it's not a gimmick. People think that this is just an easy way out. It's not an easy way out. People are born with the ability to learn auditorily. And when they learn that, and they embrace that, let's say, that skill of how they learn, everyone learns a little differently. And now that you know that I learn auditorily, let's say, you can make sure that your presentation is geared. You always should have your presentation geared to auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. But a lot of the schools were only gearing it to one modality. And they were leaving out auditory because they're like, oh, well, we talk enough about things. Yes, they talk enough, but they don't talk about the subject matter. Subject matter. Subject matter is something that a lot of schools talk about at the board level, but they don't bring those discussions in the classroom. How many times have you been into, for example, I was in my engineering class and we didn't talk about the topics? They put it on the board, okay? And we talked about it when there was a problem with the lab, but we didn't get in discussion, right? So the more you can have discussion, the more that you can have an understanding. The more that you can have an understanding, but that understanding doesn't have a connection immediately. So a connection to your learning style is your own right. And now there are schools that are starting to say, hey, wait a minute. We need to develop our curriculum so that we can have auditory in it. If you go to, let's say, preschool, how do they teach the ABCs? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z, right? Now I know my ABCs. So when that happens, I feel that it makes a difference because when we have fun and we use one of those learning modalities that is a pipeline to our brain, we become more susceptible like water is to a sponge. So when you get creative, it's like we open up the pores in our brain so we can suddenly get the information in, right? When a sponge is, let's say, not ready to receive water. Let's say, for example, it's got water in it, can't receive anymore. We dry it out, and now the water is ready to the sponge is ready to receive water again. It makes a difference. So think of this like priming your brain. And no matter what class you're in, you can utilize auditory learning. Now, you might say, John, the professor is speaking, but he's speaking way too fast and I can't comprehend it. What do you do? So, what does that mean to you? It means that if you're in a class and they're reading and they're going too fast, you can go to the professor and say, hey, professor, um, I want to be able to understand this information. I don't want to interrupt the class. I was wondering, would it be okay if I had your permission to record the lecture for no other reason than just for me so I could learn the material? Would that be okay? You always want to get the permission. They'll usually say yes. Now, if they say no, you can go to the dean of the college. You can go to the guidance office. Lots of people you can go to. And you can say, hey, Dr. Feinstein's great. I can't pick up all the material. He goes very fast. He's very smart, but I want him to slow down. I know he can't because he has a lot of material to cover. So I asked if I could just record the notes because I'm an auditory learner. When he's speaking, would that be okay? And he said he didn't think it was a good idea. So I need some help. Can you support me? And you know what? They're going to be more than happy to step in because it's going to help you. And what we're starting to notice is that as schools, teachers, curriculums are now required to become, I'll call it ambidextrial, but it's really not because that would be two hands, but it's more than one method is what I want to say. And so by doing it a multidiscipline method, we can have a big, big benefit. Isn't that pretty cool? A big, big benefit. And so an auditory learner is somebody that you can teach by using sounds, by using words. That's what an auditory learner is. There's nothing fancy about it. And it affects auditory nerve. That becomes your way of taking the information. Now, other people may not be auditory learners. There's nothing wrong with that. But everyone has to do what they need to do for their best learning style. And normally there are two learning styles. You could have an auditory, you could have a visual, but we'll get into those in another program in the future. Auditory is used in repetition. Auditory is used a lot in spelling bees. You know, like if we get up and we say the word that the teacher says to us, John, your word is banners. So I would say the word, then I would spell it, use it in a sentence, and then say it again. And if I didn't do that correctly, then I would lose points or I would be wrong. So she say the word banners. So I'd say the word first, banners. Okay. BANNERS. Our school recently put up banners to advertise the upcoming pet rally for the football team. Banners. They come back and say, very good, John. So auditory is great because you get an immediate feedback if you are auditory. Now, some teachers are auditory and you'll just click with them, like that. But if you're going with a teacher and that teacher's not auditory, you can't make them rewrite the rules. So they should be teaching auditorily, yes, but they may not. And so your job is to figure out how do we adapt the class without being disruptive and without being discourteous to the professor. A lot of times, the newer professors now, they will be very accommodating because of different learning disabilities, other accommodations. They'll be very accommodating. But you will get a couple that will be like, oh, I don't want to do that. And it's not that they don't want to do it. They feel that if they do it for you, that they should let everyone in the class do it. Well, if everyone's an auditory learner, then why can't everyone tape their notes? Shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Good evening, class. I was approached by John, who asked me if he could, record the lectures. And, I had been very against this, but I have talked to him and I've talked to several other people from the Educational Foundation. And we've decided that it's actually a good idea. So if you do need to record the notes in this class for your purposes only and just to be used by you only and not shared with anybody except in this class, feel free to record them. That is perfectly fine. And so now you've got a student that has a bit of confidence in them, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been a privilege, been a pleasure, been an honor to be with you this amazing Thursday evening. I hope you'll like, love, and support the channel. And definitely, ladies and gentlemen, comment below, tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. And be sure to go to my YouTube channel, John Space C Space Morley, and make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee, a bowl of fruit, or perhaps a savory dessert. Either way, we're going to be very grateful for those pennies and dollars you invest into us. We'll put that in new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even new facilities to give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content to empower and change your life. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I hope you'll make a choice to rewatch these videos because, when you rewatch them, more information will actually sink in. Have yourself a wonderful night, and you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to see you tomorrow for, yes, our episode number 7 to wrap this master track up and this whole master topic that we're doing here for this week. Take care, everyone.